Hey friends, so today I'm headed to my favorite local nursery to pick up a few things for the garden build out. I thought I'd take you along with me and share with you what this garden means to me, the evolution of it, and what I hope to achieve as I'm building it out. Come on. So I'm walking around the nursery and I'm having to fight my urge to just buy all the things right now, like these beautiful marigolds that are here. I don't even have the dirt finished in my garden. I don't have the edging done. And I'm already like, do I need marigolds? Gardens teach you patience. This is a lesson that I'm still learning. Someone remind me, I do not need to buy transplants. I do not need to buy transplants. Your garden is not ready, Becca. It's not ready. But look, they have so many. I can come back. I can come back. Today I'm picking up bags of mushroom compost and worm castings. They're all organic and they're going to go on top of the soil that I took from my old garden, moved to the new garden, and already added a few amendments to, but these are just gonna top off the beds and just soak all of that soil in nutrients. Since I did have to dig everything up to move it, I just want to start with the best possible quality soil in this new garden as I can. So this is where I come for it. I'm building out basically my dream garden on our property. I have had two other small kitchen gardens on our property, and it was in our side yard, and there was a bit of drama about them. In the beginning of the pandemic, I started to really cultivate my side yard kitchen garden, and a neighbor's construction project brought to light the fact that our fence that was behind my garden, that my garden was built on, was about 6 inches to a foot in the wrong place, and they needed it moved. And when we moved it and all of their construction equipment came in and out, it just destroyed the garden. And I tried really hard to save it. It felt very much like this pandemic lesson of overcoming all of the things that, were being thrust on us, and it was really healing to me to be out there in nature and working on this garden and trying to make a beautiful space in my home in the midst of all of the chaos that was happening in the outside world, but it just kept not working. And I think there was also a lesson in admitting that it wasn't working. And so I had this moment where I was like, what if I start completely over? And that's so scary because gardens take time. They take a lot of effort to build, especially if you're doing it yourself. And they take time to grow and to cultivate and to come into their own. And my garden was a few years old at the height of its beauty right before it had to be moved and destroyed. And it was at that point, like, plants were reseeding themselves and everything that I had planted in the ground had gotten big and really lush. And I'll be honest, it was really heartbreaking to see that space that had felt so healing to me kind of seemed to fall apart through my hands. I decided I was going to move the garden from my side yard to the other side of our property where there's more space. And to do that, I had to move our giant raised bed, which meant deconstructing it, shoveling all the dirt out, putting all the dirt on a carting the dirt halfway across our yard, putting it all on a tarp, shoveling it back into the new beds. And so as I was doing this, I realized I'm building my dream garden, the garden that I had originally had in my imagination when we bought our property and when I was thinking of having a kitchen garden. And I was too scared to go this big in the beginning, which is totally fine. I didn't want to overcommit. I didn't even know if I could garden. I thought I was a black thumb, but I just had this urge to learn it and to be outside in nature. And I just followed that. And so, over time I learned, and now I feel a little more confident. And I think that it's so metaphorical. I learned all my best lessons in my garden. I was diagnosed with CPTSD. And that led me down this whole rabbit hole of learning about brains and neuroscience and trauma therapy. And at the same time, I had been kind of on a spiritual journey for the last 10 years of deconstructing and reconstructing and really figuring out what I felt connected to. And it kind of both things culminated in this notion of nature and reconnecting to the earth and how healing it was for me to put my body outside in the fresh air and sun, hands in the dirt, to see something grow, to watch it be beautiful, and then to use it and to have it be helpful for our bodies, whether it was growing veggies or medicinal herbs or whatever it was, something for tea. And that process became such a grounding touch point for me that it kind of bled over into all these other areas of my life. It bled over into my mental health, it bled over into my physical wellness, and it bled over into my spiritual journey and really just coming into my own in that and discovering what felt healing and really nourishing to me. So I thought that I would bring you guys along as I build out this new garden, taking the ashes, which sounds so dramatic and poetic, but feels like a bit of a phoenix moment. It's taking the ashes, the scraps of what was left of my old garden, repurposing them, reconfiguring them, and rebuilding something that is going to not only help connect me to nature and the seasons, and that grounding element of this is all bigger than us, is just going to be something that provides for our family on top of providing for my mental health, my spiritual health, and healing my nervous system, which has become one of my top life priorities since being diagnosed last year with CPTSD. So a little of all of it. When I sat down with my husband to figure out what we as a family wanted to do, and one of the big things was we wanted to exit hustle culture. We're both self-employed creative entrepreneurs, and we have been our whole adult life, and we've built some incredible businesses, and we have been really invested in hustle culture for a decade. There's nothing wrong with working hard, but we realized that chapter, that edition, that book is done. It's closed, and we're opening the doors to this new book, this new section of our life, and is more focused on living slower, being intentional, and doing things that are healing not only for us and our nervous systems and our bodies, but for our kids, so that we stop that cycle. So we feel really strongly about this pivot of higher quality time, higher quality ingredients, higher quality food, higher quality nourishment. And building the garden is just kind of the action step that checks so many of the boxes. So I know that anytime I post about my garden, I've been posting about it on social media for years, and people who follow me on Instagram have been through the drama of the side yard garden and the heartbreak and have seen me start working on this new one. But I thought I really wanted to start a YouTube channel where I could take you beyond the squares and the Instagram stories and share the real beauty and the process and my heart along with it, share what it means to me, how I utilize it, how it inspires so many other changes in my life, so many beautiful moments of slowing down and paying attention and crafting a rhythm that's in alignment with the seasons, dropping back into my body, understanding what's happening with my nervous system, healing and nourishing, and creating really beautiful rituals for myself and my family that help us feel grounded and connected so that we can show up better for our lives and each other and just build the most beautiful, nourishing home life that we can. So, welcome to this channel. That's what it's going to be about. There's going to be practical tips, and there's going to be lots of teaching on the things that I've learned that are really healing and helpful and nourishing. And I hope that you find beauty, and I hope that you find inspiration, and I hope that you find encouragement, because I think we could all use a little bit of that right now. So I hope that you'll stick around, and thanks for being here. This is why gardeners are in such good health. All right, out of breath from putting all those bags on the back. This is why my grandfather was in such good health all the way through his mid-80s, because gardening is so physical, especially when you do everything yourself. But I kind of love that about it. I am just filled with so much hope, and it's so funny to me because I say that I learn all my best life lessons in the garden, and it's 100% true. I mean, the metaphor writes itself. So many things went through what my garden did. Like, so many things we had put so much effort into, and we built up, and we'd invested, and they were doing well, and we were happy, and then like life circumstances beyond our control wrecked them or made us not able to continue with them, and we had to grieve collectively. I had to grieve my garden. I know that sounds so silly, but like, it was so much effort and learning and time, and so healing to me. Like, it was really a big pivot in my self-care and how I thought about that kind of thing. So I had to grieve it when it was gone, and I've had to grieve so many things in the last 2 years. I'm sure you have too. And we just come to this point where we have to decide, like, what now? Like, what are we gonna do next? Are we going to rebuild? Are we going to build something new? Are we gonna pivot and go in a totally different direction? Are we letting that dream go and creating another one? But I feel like the lessons of the garden and nature and the seasons teach us so much about the idea of impermanence and releasing things, and everything I learned before, down to even tangibly me reusing the wood, reusing the garden beds I built, reconfiguring them, reusing the stones, reusing the dirt, like all of it. It's like laying this foundational layer for the new growth. And I don't know exactly where it's gonna go. I don't know exactly how the garden is gonna end out. I have an idea of what I wanna start with, but I mean, gardens kind of take on a life of their own, you know? And I feel like that's so true of so many things in life. So yes, this is about a garden, but it's also about so much more. And I bet that there are things in your life that are like that too. Like the fact that you're able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, try again, try something new, start over, rebuild. Like, that is such a beautiful thing, and something that we should all feel really hopeful and proud of, because we are resilient, and we can pick up and keep going, and we can march forward, and we can build beautiful things again. So this is that journey, and this is that process. It's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of gardening. It's a little bit of making things work with what you got and with the rules that you have. It's a little bit of using this for health physically and eating and feeding my family and myself really high nutrient dense things. And it's a little bit about healing emotionally and mentally. So thank you guys for being here on this journey with me and giving me this space to document and chronicle and talk and really kind of force myself to be accountable to these goals. Like, nothing makes you stick with something like saying you're gonna do it to the internet and starting a YouTube channel about it. So I'm glad you're along for this ride with me. right, guys, let's talk about in bulk.